Warning, listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. You know, when I talk with successful entrepreneurs and I ask them about their goals, their ambitions, the things that motivate them, I so often hear build a legacy. It's always in that top 3, that top 5 of things that they want to accomplish. Well, today my guest helps entrepreneurs and professionals really shift that perspective of legacy from, working to build a legacy or thinking of a legacy as something that you leave to actually living out their legacy each and every day. You know, Jim Rohn once said about becoming a millionaire that, and I'll paraphrase his quote, it's not the $1 million that's important. What's important is the person you have to become in the process of becoming a millionaire. And I think anyone that's ever done that or reached great success understands that. And for others, it may be hard to get their head around. But my guest, he recently gave a TEDx talk on who do I have to become, where he shares the transformation that he made to become the person he needed to become to successfully complete the SEALFIT Kokoro camp. This is a 50-plus hour event with no sleep, modeled after the U.S. Navy SEAL Hell Week. He's also the author of the new book, Live Your Legacy, the 90-Day Lifestyle Roadmap. Welcome to Influencers Radio, Mr. Nate Bailey. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it too. It's a little bit, intimidating. I think when I have people on that I know, that immediately when I read your book and learned more about you, it obviously grew my admiration for you and just the potential of the human race in general, but it also made me feel like quite a sloth, myself. So I got to start off by figuring out, let's start off with that SEALFIT, 52 hours with no sleep. I think I knew a guy in high school that did that, but it was because he took too many of the blue pills. It wasn't because of anything like that. So let's talk about this. SEALFIT events are no joke, right? They're notoriously unendurable. People, when they prepare for marathons or bike rides, a lot of the first thought, at least in my mind, is, so what would I have to do to train and prepare for that? But you say it's all about who you have to become. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I had a lot of the same thoughts and questions going into, like, apprehension, nervousness, not sure if I could really do something like Kokoro. And that's part of the reason that I signed up for it, which might make me a little bit crazy, but, just to see if I could really do it. And I knew where I was currently at when I signed up. I had signed up in March of 2016 to take on this event. And I was 275 pounds and I was out of shape. And I knew that if I showed up the way I was when I had first signed up for this event that happened in September, so I had 6 months to essentially transform myself into the person that I thought I would need to become to actually be successful. And as Navy SEALs call it, secure Kokoro. We were Kokoro 45, so we were the 45th class to ever go through this event. And so I asked myself that question, like, who do I have to become? And inside of that, I kind of developed a 5-step process to get myself to that person that I thought I would need to become. So, I had to get first of all, crystal clear on where I was at with my current reality. Like I said, I was 275 pounds. There's standards set by Kokoro. You have to do 50 push-ups, sit-ups, air squats within 2 minutes each, and 10 strict pull-ups. And then you got to run a mile in under 9.5 minutes. And then you also have to do this workout called CrossFit workout called the Murph, which at Kokoro was 100 strict pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then you had to run a mile before and after all of those movements. And so you do that all within the first 12 hours. And of course, there's a bunch of other fun that they put you through in between and before. And if you don't pass those standards, they send you home without the opportunity to see if you have what it takes to actually complete the total 50 plus hours. So I had to get clear on and honest with myself on my current reality, because, you know, we also like to lie to ourselves about where we're truly at, or, you know, how good or bad things really are in our life. And so I had to be really brutally honest with myself and find out, you know, what's my starting point. And then once I had my starting point, then I could, you know, create this vision of who I needed to become. And I determined I needed to lose 45 pounds in the next 6 months and get down to 230 pounds of body weight. I knew that at a minimum, if the standards were 50 for those movements, that I needed to do at least 60 of each. I needed to be able to run a 7-minute mile. You know, I determined I was going to need to do a half a marathon in my training to give me the confidence to know to show up that I could have the capacity necessary to finish this event. And I knew that I was going to have to do the Murph at Kokoro. You had to do it in under 70 minutes. And so I wanted to be able to do it in under 60 minutes, so that I left myself some room for error, I guess you would say, because we were going to be doing these in a fatigue state, not fresh. And so I just kind of created that picture of who I needed to become. And then I had to create what I call my holy cause.
Now, well, hold on. Wait, just a second. I want to make sure that we get this, because as I'm listening to this, so 275 pounds, and this is where I think when you said it might have been crazy, well, maybe you're onto something there, because usually people take baby steps. So let's do progression, let's do moderation, rather than, you know, and you even have pictures in your book, and you know, you don't hide that, and you know, you look like the guy not a guy that's thinking about even running a marathon, much less doing a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I look like the guy playing beer league softball.
Exactly. And so that's a huge leap of ambition. It's like, you know, I'm not going to do it halfway. You know, did you ever think about, hey, you know, maybe first I should try to do a sit-up, or maybe I should, you know, let me go walk around the block 10 times and make sure that works. What made you leap from, you know, 275 pounds, kind of, you know, sedentary, or maybe, you know, obviously not a active lifestyle, to, hey, you know what? I'm going to go get a cape and be Superman.
Yeah. I've always been driven to see what I can do and what I can push my body to. But I've also, you know, in the past have signed up for some big things and just kind of done enough to get by, or not maybe necessarily always put in the work that really is required to not only just show up and maybe barely make it, barely meet the standards and just kind of get by, but to actually show up and exceed and excel the standards set. And, you know, like I did an Ironman in 2008. I come home from deployment in 2000, when was it? I came back home in the end of 2006, and then I'd signed up for an Ironman in 2008. And I really kind of, you know, I did the Ironman, I completed it, but I really didn't I barely finished. I finished in 16 hours and 21 minutes, which was just under the 17-hour time cap. And so I've always, again, tried to find things that would push me to see kind of what my limits are. But this was really the first time that I was like, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to truly do what is necessary and required to not only just show up and kind of half-ass it, but to really go all out and show up and excel.
So, and I think a lot of people have experienced the fact that we all can pump ourselves up. to a certain extent, especially like I said, New Year's Day. This is going to be my year. I'm going to work out, get into shape, man. I'm going to be the king of the beach. And, within a week, it's the reality sets in that, this is hard. Right.
Yeah.
And at what point, because again, and I just cannot, understate the loftiness, the hugeness of the goal you set forth. But at what point, or did that point come that you said, you know what, maybe I set my aim a little high?
There were certain points, because I knew of other people going through this event before me. I was in a circle of people that were going through Kokoro kind of at the same time. There was like 5 of us that knew each other, were going through the Kokoro 45 that I went through. And then there was a few others in 2 of the classes before ours, or 2 of the events before ours, that were going through too. And I was seeing what some of these guys were doing. And I'm not the typical guy that comes through Kokoro. Not a lot of 6'3", 200, and even that 30-pound guys are attempting Kokoro, because it's what I call, it's not a big man's game. It's built for smaller, lighter, faster men, because it's over a long haul, and you really have to be able to have what it takes, the capacity, the endurance to be able to get through 50 plus hours. And it's just a lot harder as a 6'3", 230-pound guy.
Yeah, and so when I've done, I interviewed Jesse Itzler recently from Living with the SEAL, and from what these are guys that have been in shape their whole lives. Guys that run every day, that eat, and they run into physical walls, mental walls. Where they are, but you're starting from this different place. And so these people that you knew that were doing it, did you tell them that you had signed up to do this, that you were going to do this?
Yeah, I told them I was going to do it. And I think, to be honest, none of them said it, but I believe that a lot of them in their head were like, what the heck is he doing? There's no way he's going to fit through this. Plus they're looking at me at 275 pounds, and they're like, number one, they didn't think I was going to make it. And number two, they didn't think that I would actually do what was necessary and required to actually show up at 230 pounds.
Well, that's why I would think a true friend would say, can I see the pamphlet that you're looking at?
Yeah. And to top it off, I saw some of these guys didn't make it through. So I'm watching them go through it, and they're crushing workouts. They're doing 2-3 hour workouts at a time, which I knew I didn't want to do. I don't have 2 to 3 hours a day to put into this and to sacrifice from the other areas of my life. And I don't want to put in that much time. I still knew I was going to have to do the work and train hard and go through the process, but I didn't want to do that. And plus some of these guys, compared to me, were extremely, like, from the outside looking in, you looked at them and, they're no body fat, muscular, like in shape, the picture of fitness. And I'm like, and to watch some of them not make it through, really, when you talk about, did I ever question myself? Yeah. When I saw some of these guys not make it through, I was like, whoa, I mean, if they can't make it, how am I going to do it? Right.
Yeah. So, and I think that brings us to the point where, it becomes crystal clear that there's a difference between, what you have to do to prepare to who you have to become, to prepare for this, because like I said, if you had that pamphlet sitting in front of you, what do I have to do? You talked about, well, I need to get to where I can do, so many of these, I need to meet this benchmark, these physical, benchmarks. And I think that right there would have told a lot of people, like, no way. All right. I don't know what I was thinking, but you didn't do that. And was it during this point or at this point that you realized that to be able to accomplish it, it was going to take much more than just, the physical training that you were going to have to, it was about who you had to become to get through this, to be able to not just accomplish this, but survive this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was, and that's just the physical part, and a lot, once you can kind of push through the physical part aspect of it, I mean, it's a large part mental, and being able to have the mental capacity or fortitude, whatever you want to call it, to to just continue and push through not only the event itself, but the entire process along the way. And also, I mean, I was just, I was taking a stand for myself, for my life, and for my family. And I mean, that was a big part of why I was doing this. I mean, if it was just me saying, I want to do this event, but I really didn't have any strong reason why I was doing it, there's no way I would have done the work. There's no way I would have lost the weight. There's just no way I would have became who I needed to complete something this big.
So what was that motivation?
Yeah. So for me, it was just really working through, and, inside the book, I call it the holy cause method. Is just a process of going through to figure out why do I want to do this? What's the big reason big enough to push me through on the days that I don't want to train, the days that I want to have a piece of pizza because I feel like I deserve it, to stray from my nutrition plan, to push through even in times in the event when I knew I'd be in the middle of the ocean with the waves crashing down us, middle of the night, dead tired, when I'd want to quit. And ultimately it was, if I don't lead my family and show them what it's like to set big goals and push through this talk that I had in my head of who do I think I am, and actually tune in to the process of who do I have to become, that I knew someone else was going to lead them or set the example for them that I didn't want or approve of in life. So I want to show my kids, my family, my wife, what it's like to go after big things and actually do what's required to do it.
And that I think takes us to the whole concept of the legacy, right? When I talk to people about leaving a legacy, it's more than a lot of people think. It's ego. I need some kind of monument. I want my name to be around after I'm, not here. But to truly successful people, legacy to them means that a lasting mark on, whether it's this planet, a lasting mark on their family. It's something, bigger, bigger than them. And I think, a lot of that, what you just talked about, that why, legacy could be that, I want to leave some principles that for my family to live by, or something that they can look back on as a way to live, or how to get through certain times. In your own words, kind of define what that means to you when you legacy, when you're talking about building a legacy, leaving a legacy, and living a legacy. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, legacy, I always looked at it as something that you would leave behind, like this pot of money for your family to have. And the bigger pot of money that we had at the end, the bigger your legacy was. And just realizing that's, for me, that's not what it's all about. That's part of it. Just leading my family and truly enjoying the process and the journey. Number one, we have no idea where there's no guarantees. We don't know when our time is up and when we're going to die. And so just choosing to truly live and be tuned into that and enjoying this process and journey along the way that we call life, and just living the legacy and modeling that for, like I said, for my kids and for my family. And so that when they can look back and they really look at my legacy when my time is up and I do die, is that, man, my dad really truly lived life. He really modeled us a way to live. He led us. He taught us how to work hard and set big goals and go after things and push through the self-defeating talk inside of our heads, to push through what we think other people think of us, and not allow any of that to control us, and just really go after what it is that we want in life, to lead them spiritually and to lead them and show them what it's like to live a godly life, and just to model that for them. And in finances and business, take care of them financially, to show them how to use money correctly and how to save and diversify and build that wealth and be able to do some of the things that they want to for their families. And, as far as my fitness goals or my body, just, taking care of that, being able to live a healthy life so that I can enjoy it. And it's just enjoying and living out the life that you want to have. And along that way, if we do this and if I model this for my family and for the people around me that I have an influence or impact on, if I do that and live my legacy each and every day, ultimately I'm also building it in the process. So I'm not worried about what I'm leaving as a legacy at the end, because I know that if I live it every day, when it all is said and done, I will have left a greater legacy than I could even imagine today, currently.
And it's certainly far more valuable legacy than that pot of money that people, because often when people leave just a pot of money, they just leave a pot of disaster is what they leave behind. And so, one, going through the SEAL event and preparing for it, if there was ever a all-in-one kind of to accomplish that, to demonstrate an example of what you just talked about, that would be it, right? I think that could be the beginning and ending of it. It's like
100%.
I want to jump back a little bit to this point where you feel that, okay, you know what? I think I am getting there. I think I am prepared. Even maybe your friends were thinking, well, dang, he's going to do it. Right. At what point do you see that crossing over from, well, we won't say anything because he probably won't do it anyway, to, well, wait a minute, it looks like this is going to happen?
And for me, the big part was, I wasn't talking about it. So these people really didn't know, that I was transforming into the person that I was. I was just doing what it was like, show me, don't tell me. You're struggling in your marriage, you don't come home and tell your wife that you're going to make a lot of big changes, because she's heard that before. So you just show up and start actually showing her, and little bit by little bit, she starts to realize that this is really you. And so it's the same thing. It's just, I just chose to do the work every single day, and I would see the progress. I would see the weight start to come off, and I would see the miles that I was logging every week running. I would see, a big weakness was pull-ups. I didn't have the strength. Plus I was 275 pounds. It's a lot harder to pull 275 pounds over a bar than it is 230. And so I was getting stronger and being able to do the strict pull-ups that I knew that I needed to do. So, I could see the progression as I got closer and closer, just knowing that I was doing the work and just trusting in that. Because there can still be a lot of questions and stories that we can run through our head telling us, that you're not prepared or you're not ready. So instead of listening to that, I was just relying on the fact that I knew I was doing the work every day. And then I just had peace in that. And then it was like, well, now I'm just going to show up. I've done the work. There's no sense in worrying about, am I going to make it or not? I'm just going to show up and be in the present moment, which is a big piece of who do I have to become. And I'm just going to take each step, each breath, each rep, each evolution that we do, and I'm going to be in that moment, and I'm just going to keep going until it's the end.
And so you show up, you're there, and you feel confident that, you know what, I'm as prepared as I could be. I've done everything that I can do. And you show up. Talk about that day.
Yeah, by that point, there's nothing. Once I'm there, there's nothing I can do to improve upon my situation. I'm either ready or I'm not. And so, there was some nerves, and there's a little bit of time where you get there because people were getting early, and you're kind of starting to see the group, and these are the people that you're going to spend the next 50 plus hours with, and there's some nervousness, and then you see the kind of the coaches and the Navy SEALs that are leading this event, getting things prepared, and then it just kind of starts. And once it starts, it's just kind of like pregame jitters that go away once the ball tips in athletics. And then it's just, like I said, just kind of staying in that present moment and doing the best you can with what you brought to the table to see if it's enough to get you through it.
And when you say get you through it, I have a son that's in sports, athletics, and always, when you're training for something, it's always to avoid injury or to avoid pain. But with SEALFIT, there is no avoiding pain, right? And I think this is the difference between, preparing physically and preparing mentally. That no, I will be enduring pain, and this is what this is that mental toughness. Do you feel that you were prepared mentally for that? Even though, you lost the weight and you certainly had to have some mindset shifts to go from where you were to be able to show up there that day to do this. But do you feel that you were prepared mentally for this as you thought you were?
I think I ended up being much more mentally prepared than maybe I knew, because there's the unknown. I didn't know. That's part of the reason I signed up. Do I have what it takes to get through this mentally? Because at Navy SEAL Hell Week, they make them ring a bell if they want to quit, which could be pretty demoralizing, right? And I'm like, man, I can't imagine. I don't judge anyone that actually rung the bell. But I also can't think in my mind, like, I don't know that I could get myself to actually go and ring a bell and tell them that I'm done. At Kokoro, it was you just you stand up and you tell them you're done. And I'm like, I can't imagine myself telling someone else that I quit. Like, that's just not in my DNA. But I didn't know that for sure until I got there. And I can honestly say that I never once thought of quitting at all. It never even crossed my mind. And I know that there's some that did quit during the event that I think that they really regretted it, probably even 1 minute later. They got up and quit in the moment. They couldn't take it. They couldn't handle it. They got out of the present. They started thinking about the future and how much more work was left or how much more time was left. And they lost. And so that's where I had to stay strong. And
I think just the fact that ringing the bell, that was your fear, where someone that's not nearly as mentally and tough. And I'll be honest, my first question when I got there would have been, okay, so where's the bell? Just in case, I want to know where the bell is. Right?
Yeah. So for us, there was no bell. I mean, it was just, you tell them you're done or that you're out. And I had been through some other things in my life, like doing an Ironman. I was in the Army. I went through basic training, and I really did all of these things. I mean, one of the main reasons I joined the military was to see if I had what it took to get through basic training. The reason I did an Ironman was to see if I had what it took to push through and actually complete an event like that. And the same thing for Kokoro.
It starts, right? 50 plus hours. And you had to acknowledge, you knew that when you're going in there that you were going to witness or experience psychological breakdowns, physical breakdowns. What can you tell us about this? And either one, how it changed the way that you think about life or changed the person you become, or what it did to reinforce in your mind that you had figured out that the actions that you took, the steps that you had developed in order to get there, was going to get you through this.
I stayed in the moment the entire time. It started with us, in the front leading rest, or basically like a push-up position, to doing flutter kicks, to being on our back with our feet up off the ground, just kind of mentally and physically trying to break us down right from the beginning and tiring us out, trying to weaken our core a bit, to going to the PT test. And, it is a 50 plus hour event. So it's, you're in it for the long haul. So it's not a sprint, but at the same time, they expect you to be putting in full all out effort at all times, because you'll find some people thinking, all right, this is a long game. I'm going to kind of just hang back a little bit to try and conserve some energy. And so one of the principles that they teach is, that as soon as you think you're tired or have given it all, you're really only 40% of the way, or what they call, you can do 20 times more than you really think you're capable of. And so, and it rang so true throughout the whole event, because even as the biggest guy there, it pays to win, they would say. So all these different things we did. If you won or if you finished first, there was usually a little bit of a reward there for us, whether it was a few minutes of rest while they had the rest of the group do it again. And so I really did play all out, but I also just stayed in the present moment, which just really kept my mind mentally in the here and now versus out into the future about, how much more we had to do. And so that's just really that was the biggest thing that got me through it was just, number one, knowing I did the work to get there physically. And then number two, just, I was like, I'm here for 50 plus hours. If I quit, I have nowhere to go. And so I paid a lot of money to be here. So I'm going to, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to quit.
I've talked to quite a few people in the mental toughness world. And I think one of the common things in how mental toughness helps you throughout life, rather than just about that moment, is it defines that when people quit, because you hear it all the time, people say, I'm tapping out. I've done everything I can do. And what you really find out is what they mean to say is, I've done everything I'm willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. People build excuses around that. Yeah.
And we find out that there's a big separation between everything I'm willing to do and everything that I can do. And people don't recognize or they don't acknowledge that, but there seems to be a huge gap. One of the things that you talk about in the book, and I love the analogy you use of kind of like the superhero analogy with the hero and the villain, and you talk about legacy's kryptonite, because in the kryptonite seems to be things that maybe we've told ourselves or that we believe. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I talk about the legacy's kryptonite is buying into the story that life is supposed to be perfect. Like if life isn't perfect, then you failed somehow. And what I really think life is all about and choosing to live your legacy is embracing the fact that there's going to be things that are going to happen in our life. You call it adversity, you could call it tragedy. I mean, there's things that are going to happen. There's conflict that's going to arise. There's going to be arguments that you have, and it's how we deal with those and being prepared to deal with those, because we know they're going to happen. So just accepting that part of life, it's what it is. It's part of life. No one goes through life in a sense as you hear sometimes having it all. And I think you can have it all. I just think what is your definition of having it? Is having it all, chasing this rainbow that's never going to appear, that shows up as, again, a perfect life, no conflict, no confrontation, no setbacks. I mean, that's just not reality. But people want to believe it or buy into the fact that that's what they're trying to get to, thinking that that's what some people have, when that's not what it's all about. And so, which also goes into what, you talked about the superhero and the villain that I talk about in the book. And the superhero is really, asking yourself that one simple and powerful question of, who do I have to become to live my legacy, versus the villain inside of us that's asking us the question, who do you think you are to go out and do these things? Who do you think you are to, at 275 pounds, sign up for an event called Kokoro that the elite of the elite go through U.S. Navy SEAL Hell Week? And I'm not saying that Kokoro is Hell Week. It's a very small fraction of what they actually do in Hell Week. But so it's the resistance. It's that fear inside of us, or, our monkey brain, as some people will call it, trying to hold us back and just keep us in our comfortable, complacent place in life, keep us from doing these hard things that really, if we choose to listen or tune into the superhero and embrace this question of, who do I have to become, really builds us into who we truly are. It builds that grit, that character that really allows us to live our legacy along the way. So, and
I think that's what, leading into that, to me, that villain is what's inside of you, trying to get you to tap out. That's all you're willing to do. That's what that villain represents. And the superhero is to carry you on, to help you to realize what you can do. And I think, do you think that if you had to kind of define that mental toughness, is to be able to recognize the separation between those, and then to acknowledge and move forward based on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's realizing that the villain is there and actually pushing towards it, like moving towards and pushing through the resistance, the fear, the thoughts of, who do I think I am, pushing through that, like looking for those opportunities so that you can continue to get a little bit better and actually kind of defeat the villain in a way. But, the reality is that the villain's never going to go away. So, it's a never ending battle. But if you can embrace that and just learn to accept it and enjoy it instead of allowing the villain to rule your life, then you can truly live out your legacy.
In the book, there's a chapter on a legacy secret weapon, which it takes us back to, I guess what we started with is that who do I have to become?
Yep.
That the secret weapon of legacy to be able to defeat, this villain, to acknowledge all this, is to answer that question, right?
Yeah.
Who do I have to become?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, so I did it for Kokoro, but, what's next? I'm constantly asking myself that question in all of the big four areas of my life. I'm constantly asking myself, who do I have to become? Because it's just a part of the process and the journey that we go through.
So, regardless, I guess, what someone's experiencing, and we talk about a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they're at that point in their lives where they financially they're doing well, at least to outwardly appearances. Others would look at them and say, hey, they're successful, but internally they're not fulfilled, or there's something left, or yes, they may have that pot of money that they thought was the legacy, but they really realize that legacy is so much more. And I guess, that's what you've put together and you help people with, is to live that legacy. In fact, your book, the 90-day lifestyle roadmap, what is it? So obviously we're not all going out to decide to join up on the next, SEALFIT camp. You've inspired me, but not that much. But let's see, there are things that we have to deal with, and now we realize it's the question is, okay, what do I need to do to accomplish this or to overcome this? And we ask ourselves, who do I have to become to work through this? And that's a big concept and a big goal for sure. And, it would be easy to say that, but how do I answer that? And how do I know that I'm answering that correctly? Can you kind of walk us through your live the legacy, that 90-day lifestyle roadmap? Because, you're not just talk about this and what you do and how to do it. You actually have things that people can work on and make it a very personal experience to work through this. Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this has taken me years and years of trial and error and years of investing thousands and thousands of dollars into myself and in personal growth and just trying to get better and trying to figure out how to live this legacy that I talk about in the book, and using many different systems and never really finding one that worked for me. And I just wanted something simple that I could follow and put together and be intentional with, because I found if you're not intentional, if you don't have a plan, then you really aren't going anywhere. You're just kind of, running your tires in the mud. And so I was like, I'm going to put everything that I've learned and experienced and gone through into what I call the 90-day lifestyle roadmap. And so it starts all with the secret weapon, which is who do I have to become? And there's 4 planning pages in the back. So it's a 90-day system, and you just repeat it every 90 days. And so go through and ask yourself the question and go through the 5-step process of who do I have to become to kind of map out what you want to do for the next 90 days in the big 4 areas, which is our family, our relationships, our fitness, which is our body and our health, and our faith is our spirituality, our religion, our faith in God, or whatever that might be for you, and then your finances, which is your business and your financial well-being, and so there's a daily focus page, which is put together to take us through what I call the legacy launch hour, which is going to basically just a routine that we'll have in the morning to set us up for success for the rest of the day. There's a daily non-negotiable item that we'll come up with every day so that we're intentional about, taking at least one solid step towards something that we need to do to complete to get us a little bit closer to our end target or goal for the 90 days. And then there's a daily planning system where it's just really that your schedule for the day to get focused in on what it is that you have ahead of you. There's a section where we'll talk about our win for the day so that we can focus on some things that were positive in our day at the end of the day when we go through. And there's some daily revelation where there's just room for essentially to journal and to jot ideas down and things as they come to us to keep record of. And then we're going to do a weekly review. We're going to keep score of, did we do what we said we were going to do? How did the week go? Did we take the steps laid out inside of this to actually get us a little bit closer? So there's 12 weeks essentially in the 90 days. And then there's a 13th week at the end that's really meant for celebration and meant for recharging and setting up for our next 90 days. And so there's also some 36 and 60 day benchmarks or trackers to also see, all right, I'm a month out. How am I doing? Do I need to adjust the goal or the target that I set for the 90 days? Have I already achieved it or accomplished it? And so just by being intentional and having this plan, and I wanted to make it simple and easy to use so it's not, oh man, I got to take 2 hours out of my day every day to do this, and all of a sudden, no one's using it. And it's also to make it your own. I've given the template or the roadmap, as we say, and I've explained it, and I haven't explained it in a ton of detail to the point where no one's going to want to actually read through to figure it all out. It's all easy. It's all short, because that's how I work. As soon as I see a bunch of detail or a bunch of description on things pages long, I lose interest, and I just feel like it's too technical or too complicated for me. So I wanted something really simple, really easy that they could put in place, but that is also super intentional and is really going to create some good results for them. And what you'll find that happens is people that embrace this system and put it into play for them, they end up creating results in 90 days that they might not have accomplished in a year or 2 years, because they were actually finally intentional and had a system that was easy to use that they could follow. So that's really what I wanted to create for people, so that it doesn't feel overwhelming and they do feel like, wow, this is something that I can finally use, that I can finally overcome some of the questions that I've had in my head, or the questions of asking myself, who do I think I am, that have kept me from actually going out and achieving those. So that's really, how I came about the idea and ultimately came about putting together this book and this system.
Well, I think it's a remarkable platform to do this, because as I went through there and I realized that, when you talk about it's simple and easy, I thought, how is this simple and easy? I'm going to show you the simple and easy way to get through 50 plus hours of SEAL. And what I realized is you're very realistic with all this, that you made the process simple and easy, but you're very clear that this still takes effort and it takes serious commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't have to be, and I don't think it should be, Kokoro every 90 days. Like, just pick things that they don't have to be big, hairy, audacious like you sometimes hear. I mean, it's okay to do that. And maybe it's okay to pick one big thing in one of the areas of your life, and then really just pick some things that are really attainable for the others, that aren't necessarily huge and grand, but are, on the other hand, still going to get you to become just a little bit better. So I'm not asking you to eat an entire elephant in 90 days, every 90 days in all areas of your life, because you'll get burnt out and you will throw this system or roadmap in the garbage after a while, because it's just, it's too much. But at the same time, if you want to go after something big, I think I show the readers through my journey to take on Kokoro that you can, and it is possible.
one thing that I want to ask you, and I hope I'm not being too forward in doing this, and let me know if you don't want to discuss it. But I think it's important for folks to realize that adversity, like you said earlier, adversity is part of life. That mental toughness and living your legacy and putting all this together is not about avoiding adversity. It's about being able to deal and overcome adversity. And one of the things that during your 50 plus hours you went through this, how many people were in your group?
Yeah, so they told us that over 50 plus people, like around 52 people signed up for the event. And then 28 actually showed up. And then 9 of us completed it.
So, and this was where we talk about adversity, where that legacy's kryptonite, I'm sure was in full effect and made you question the what was happening. What it made you question this whole thing, because 9 of you completed the event, which I'm sure, as exhausted as you were, it had to be a huge moment of pride and at least to eke out a celebration that this was done, right?
Yeah. So we finished, 52 hours in, they finally, they said, class 45, you are now secured, which is really the moment that we had been thinking of and dreaming of from the moment that we signed up. And at our event, actually, one of the men that finished with us, he died like literally seconds after they told us that we had secured. So we go from this moment of really, excitement and celebration to watching one of the guys that we had got to know very well and that we had battled through and come together with actually fall to the ground and ultimately lose his life that day. And it was really, as tragic as it really is, it was also a lesson that was driven home after having time to reflect on. We really do have 2 choices. I can either give into complacency and tune into the voice inside my head asking me, who do I think I am, and allow that to control me and keep me playing small in life, or I can take choice number 2 and instead honor men like Kurt. Kurt was his name, the guy that died, Kurt Delagianis, and honor him and his family who really truly chose to live every day, and instead ask myself, who do I have to become? And really, when you break it down, I think that truly is what life is all about. And so to see him, he's married, 2 very young kids, and they lost a father and a husband forever in that moment. And so to see that, it was bittersweet in that, we didn't get to celebrate and enjoy that moment because of what happened. But at the other time, I can choose to really honor him and take it as a lesson moving forward to live my legacy, like I said, because there's no guarantees.
Well, I can say that who do I have to become? Those 6 words have so much more meaning, and the power behind those that those words that you put together is just remarkable. And I know that there's a lot of, sayings out there. There's a lot of motivational, that where these catchphrases come out, but who do I have to become? There is meat behind it. There is teeth on that statement. And the people that you've worked with, that you've helped work through this, have just seen some tremendous transformations. And that's why I truly consider you a influencer in what you are doing. How can people find out more about Nate Bailey, or if they say, this is someone I need to know, this is someone that I need to work with? How can they find out more about Nate Bailey, follow Nate Bailey?
Yeah.
And also how to get the book, Live Your Legacy, the 90-Day Lifestyle Roadmap.
Yeah. Well, as far as the book goes, It'll be available on Amazon as well as in Kindle version. Also, I have a website, natejbailey.com, which will also have a link to the book and more information on me and what I do as a author, speaker, and coach. So yeah, if you're interested in contacting me or getting a hold of me or seeing what I'm up to, that's a good place to go.
All right, fantastic, folks. Definitely check it out. Live Your Legacy, the 90-Day Lifestyle Roadmap. On Amazon, we'll have the links on that, paperback and Kindle version, and also at natejbailey.com. Nate, I have to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing this information. And it's just fascinating. Your story is fascinating. And the fact that every person that I've ever, talked to or heard about that's gone through these SEAL fits, I couldn't relate to the where they were when they decided to do this. And with you, it's very relatable because like you were that 270-pound guy. What in the heck is he thinking?
Yeah.
And to witness that journey, because there's so many people that were in your position that would have just said, man, I sure would like to lose the love handles. I sure would like to, get a few points down on my cholesterol, but you went all out, and that's truly truly inspirational for, the guy that isn't where a lot of those people start. And there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs that are in that position.
Absolutely.
You talk about those 4 different parts of the legacy that maybe they working on the financer, but that health, that fitness is not one of them. And it's just a true difference in that you can make. So I thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for putting this book and this program together.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, folks, there you have it. Again, check it out. Nate Bailey, just a remarkable story. Follow this guy. Who do I have to become? That's something that you should be asking yourself right now if you aren't already doing that. So check it out. Live Your Legacy, the 90-Day Lifestyle Roadmap. And until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.